Next in PHP, we are having PHP conditional statements. So in PHP, we have following conditional statements. So what all PHP conditional statements are there? First is if statement, then if else statement, if else if statement, and then the switch statement. So these are the conditional statements which we use with the conditions. So if statement, it executes some code if one condition is true. So we have the if condition only with one condition where we want to find out, like we are having two numbers and we want to find out which one is greater or which one is smaller. So we have one condition, that is which one is greater among these two numbers. So we use the if statement to check it out which number is the greatest number. Next is if else statement. It executes some code if a condition is true and other code if that condition is false. So if else statement, if the condition gets true, some certain code is gets executed, and if that condition gets false, then another set of code gets executed. Then we have if else if statement. It executes different codes from more than two conditions. So the two codes gets executed with the if else statements. So statement, it selects one of the many blocks of code to be executed. So in such statement, you select the particular piece of code is selected based on the condition matching, and that particular code is executed. And the conditions are written in the blocks. So one block is selected and that respective code gets executed. So let's discuss all these one by one. So first of all is if statement. The syntax of if statement is if condition, and then in brackets we are writing out code that to be executed if this condition gets true. So for example, here the number variable num, it is initialized to 12, and we are having a condition as if num less than 100. And in code, we are writing echo num is less than 100. So our number is 12. 12 is less than 100. So in the output, we are having 12 is less than 100 because our number 12 that is less than 100. So this condition becomes true, and hence the set of code gets executed. Echo, it displays the value onto the screen, $num, that is 12. The value is placed in num, and the output we get is num, that is 12. So 12 is less than 100. If else statement, the syntax of if else statement is if condition followed by code to be executed if this condition is true, else, then else also we are having a certain code, certain different code that is to be executed if the condition becomes false. That is the syntax of else if else statement. So let's start working on the program for if else statement. In this program we have two strings str1 that is initialized to high, and the str2 that is also initialized to high. So we are having the if condition if str1 double equals to str2. So we are checking whether the both strings are equal or they are not equal. So if str1 double equals to str2, we are displaying the message both the strings are equal. Else we are displaying a message both the strings are not equal. So the output is, since both the strings are high, and the output is both the strings are equal. Here in this code, you are able to see that we have not used the parentheses over here. nor we have used any parentheses over here, nor we have used any parentheses in the else part. Why it is so? Because we are writing a single statement and it is automatically understood that after writing if, the next statement is under its brackets, under its parentheses. So if you are writing multiple statements over here, then you need the parentheses to be followed out. We have another program in which month equals to date M, and we are having the condition month double equals to OCT, and in the code we are having multiple statements, that is echo the month is October, echo it's Diwali. So multiple statements are there. We have used parentheses over here. Else, in else part, we are having different set of code, that is echo the month is not October, echo it is, and we are using the string concatenation dot concatenation operator, and we are concatenating month through that particular it is. So output is the month is not October, it is Jan. What happening in this code is date and month. We are fetching the month from the respective date. So if you run this program today, it will be, the output will be the month is not October, it is February, because it will be fetching M, that is month, from the date, and it is getting stored in the month variable, and that month variable is compared with OCT. Since the condition becomes false, it navigates to the else part. So else set of instructions get executed, and in the else set of instructions, it is mentioned that the month is not October, and the next it is mentioned as it is dot month variable. So month variable value is February. So it will be displaying as the month is not October, it is February if you execute today. For this program, we executed this in the month of January. So the month is not October, it is Jan. So it is automatically fetched the system date, which is on 31st of January. So that's why it is displaying Jan. Then next is if else statement. So the syntax for the same is if, then we are having a condition, and then set of code that is executed if this condition is true. Else if, again we are having condition, and in that particular set of parentheses we are having a different code that is executed if this condition is true, and then we are having the else part. And else part is having different set of code that is being executed if all the conditions are false. So what happens in it is, if the condition becomes true, it answers the first code. If the condition becomes false, then it checks with the else if conditions. And if all the conditions becomes false, then it moves to the else part. So once it is moved to the else part, then that particular code gets executed. So that is if else statement. So let's check it out with the program. $m equals to date M. It is fetching out the month and it is storing the month value in $m. The M variable which stands for month. Then it is displaying echo hi everyone. So message is being displayed hi everyone. And then $m is compared with Jan and it is displaying as it's January. Then else if $m is compared with Feb, echo it's February. Else if $m is compared with MAR March, echo it's March. Else echo it's some other month. So if you are running this program in the month of Jan, automatically the system date, the month will be Jan and $m value will be Jan. So it will be matching up with the first criteria. So the output will be it's January. Later, if you execute this program in the month of February, the output will be it's February because $m value will be $m value will be February. The same way, if you execute this program in the month of March, month will be March, so $m value will be MAR, and you will be getting the output as hi everyone, it's March. For all other months, means the month starting from April till December, you will be getting the output as hi everyone, it's some other month. Why it is so? Because for all other months, January, February, March, excluding these 3 months, for all other months, this conditions becomes false and else condition will be executed because else gets activated only when all other conditions becomes false. So all the if and the if else conditions will be false and the else will be displayed onto the screen. Then is the switch statement. Switch statement has the syntax as switch n, where n is a number or it can be string or it can be alphabet. So it is having cases. So case label 1 colon, then code to be executed if n equals to label 1 and followed by break. Then case label 2 code to be executed if n equals to label 2, then break. Then case label 3 code to be executed if n equals to label 3, then break, and so on. And at the last, the default block is there. So default colon code to be executed if n is different from all labels. So why we use the break command and why there is default over here in switch statement? So these are very important questions. So break is used to prevent the code from running into the next case automatically. Suppose if you have mentioned case label 1 and if your n matches with the label 1, the case label 1 code will get executed. And if you do not mention break after case label 1, automatically the case label 2 code will also get executed after the completion of case label 1. The code will not terminate, it will move on to the another case followed by it. The same case, if label 2 is also not having break and label 1 is true, then code will execute label 1, label 2 and label 3 and keep on executing unless and until either the program gets finished or it encounters with a break keyword. So that's the use of a break. The break is used to prevent the code from running into the next case automatically, because if it happens, then we will not be getting the appropriate output as a result. What output we want for label 1? We will be getting the output for label 1 as well as for other labels also. We have a default block at the end of the switch statement. The default statement is used if no match is found. If the value of n is not matching with any of the labels, then the default block gets executed. So that is the syntax of switch statement. So this is the program using this statement where the favorite color is red that has been initialized, and that favorite color red value is being passed into the switch statement, and the first case is case red, and the message is being displayed your favorite color is red and followed by break. Then case blue is there where the favorite color is blue is mentioned, and then the break keyword is there. Then case 3 green, echo your favorite color is green. Then the break statement is there, and finally we are having the default in which we are having your favorite color is neither red, blue nor green. So if we execute this program, since the favorite color that we have initialized it to red, so statement red is being passed and the case is matched with the label 1. So in the label 1, the code snippet mentioned is your favorite color is red, and with the help of echo command, it is getting displayed onto the console output. So we get the output as your favorite color is red. Then we are having a break command. So break statement, it comes out from this statement and we get the output as your favorite color is red. Moving ahead, we are having looping, where we will be working on with the loops in PHP. So in PHP, we are having loops as while loop is there, do while is there, for loop is there, and for each loop is there. So these four are the looping statements. Let's go through each of them one by one. First of all, while is there. While loops through a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. So while if the condition is true, it keeps on looping the block of code, and as soon the condition becomes false, it comes out of that particular block of code. Do while, it loops through a block of code once and then repeats the loop as long as the specified condition is true. So do while loop, if the condition is false, then also it goes through the block of code at least once. And if the condition is true, it keeps on looping the block of code. And as soon the condition becomes false, it comes out from that particular block of code. So there lies a difference between do while and while. While it checks the condition and then it loops the block of code if only the condition is true. But for do while, it goes through a particular block of code at least once even the condition is false. For it loops through a block of code a specified number of times. There comes a question like if we want to select a loop for our program where we are having a specified number of times. So which looping mechanism or which looping statement will be the best suited for this scenario? You all go through the question and it says that you need to find out a loop that is best suited for the specified number of times. You all know that for specified number of times, for loop is the best. So for loop, it will be the correct answer to this question. So for loops through a block of code, a specified number of times. So where you are going to run a particular loop for a specified number of times, the for loop is preferred. Then we are having another looping statement, that is for each. So for each, it loops through a block of code for each element in an array. If we consider an array and in array we are having 10 elements. So for each will go through a block of code for each and every element. That is, it will go through a piece of code for the first element. Then after the completion, it moves on to the second element and then again go through the block of code. And then it moves on to the third element and again goes through the block of code. And then it moves on to the fourth element and again go through the block of code and so on till the last element. So that is the for each. So let's go in detail of this looping statements. The first one is while loop. The while loop executes a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. So while loop, it keep on executing the block of code until the condition is true. And as soon the condition becomes false, the code is, it comes out to be, the control comes out to be the block of code. So syntax is while, then condition If this condition is true, then the code is to be executed. So code is written in parentheses. Then the question on while loop, we have the CTR equals to 1, the CTR variable, and we are displaying the multiples of the number 25 up to 10 times. In short, we are displaying the multiplication table of 25. So how we are doing so? We are displaying a message echo the multipliers of the number 25 up to 10 times R, and then while CTR, which is having a value 1 is less than 11 because we want to display the value up to 10. So 10 times we want to display. So echo, we are displaying it into the multiplication table format. So 25 multiplied by CTR, where the CTR value will keep on increment, equals to CTR multiplied by 25. So if the value of CTR is 1, that will be the output will be printed as 25 multiplied by 1 equals to 25. If the CTR value is 2, then it will be printed as 25 multiplied by 2 equals to 50. And then so on. And in the next statement, we write CTR plus plus, which will keep on incrementing the value of CTR by 1. We have gone through the increment and decrement operators. So CTR plus plus is an increment operator where it means as CTR equals to CTR plus 1. So it will keep on incrementing the value of CTR for each and every time when this block gets executed. If we execute this complete program, we get the multiplication table of 25 up to 10 times. So 25 multiplied by 10 gives the 250. So next is do while loop. The do while loop will always execute the block of code once. It will then check the condition and repeat the loop while the specified condition is true. The syntax is do the code to be executed while the condition is true. So do while it executes at least once if even the condition is false. So in a do while loop, the condition is tested after executing the statements within the loop. So that is the reason it executes at least once, even if the condition is false in the first time. So if the condition is true, it keeps on executing until the desired condition is met. But if the condition is false, then also it will execute, but it will be executing only the first time. It will execute only the first time, and as soon the condition is false, it will not execute the second time. That is the do while loop. In the program, we declare the CTR equals to 0, echo the multiples of the number 40 up to 10 times R. And now we are writing a program to display multiples of 40 till 10, or we can say we are displaying the multiplication table of 40 till 10. So using do while we are doing this. So do then parentheses CTR plus plus. So it will increment the value of CTR. Initially the value is 0. So that's why we have started the value from 0, because we want to do an increment in the initial step. So it will be changed from 0 to 1. Then we are displaying the condition echo 40 multiplied by CTR variable equals to concatenation with CTR multiplied by 40. So if the value of CTR is 1, in the output it is obtained as 40 multiplied by 1 equals to 40. If the value is 2, then it will be displayed as 40 multiplied by 2 equals to 80. And so on. Then we are having the condition while CTR less than 10 means the value of CTR will keep on increasing until the maximum value of 10 is attained. As soon the value of CTR becomes 11, this condition becomes false and the code will stop executing. So this program, it displays the multiplication table of 40. The next is for loop. For loop is a repetition statement designed to be used when executing a code block a specified number of times. So for loop is used when we want to execute any program in a specified number of times. The for loop is a special kind of loop covering the following tasks. So what all tasks the for loop covers? It set a counter variable to some initial value. So it sets the counter variable to the initial value and it checks the check to see if the condition statement is true. We are having a condition check over here and executing the code specifically held within that particular loop. And it executes that particular piece of code and then it increments a counter at the end for each iteration through the loop. So then it increments the counter variable and then this complete iteration it gets repeated up. Then again it checks the condition checking, again the code is executed and then the increment or the decrement happens and then again the condition checking it goes on and this process goes on until the condition is true. As soon the condition becomes false, this all step stops and the control gets out of this for loop. So moving ahead, we are having the syntax for loop for init counter semicolon test counter then semicolon and then the increment counter then followed by code to be executed. So parameters what we are passing out in the for loop is init counter. It is the initialize the loop counter value. So init counter it is used for the initialization purpose. Test counter it is evaluated for each loop iteration. So it is evaluated for each loop iteration. If it evaluates to true, the loop continues. If it evaluates to false, the loop ends. The test counter is there. If the condition is true, it keeps on executing. If the condition becomes false, the loop ends. And then we are having the increment counter. It increases the loop counter value. So we are having increment counter or the decrement counter, or we will be keeping how much increase we want in the loop count. Whether we want the increase in 1 or we want the increase by 2 or we want to increase by 5 or so. So that is the increment counter where we can set up the increment and the decrement values. Program on for loop for CTR equals to 1, CTR less than equal to 5, CTR plus plus. What it means is initial value for CTR is 1. The condition is 1 is less than equal to 5, which is true. Then the code is executed, that is the for loop has executed CTR time. So the first time the CTR value is 1, so output will be the for loop has executed 1 time. And then the control goes back to the increment counter, that is CTR plus plus. CTR plus plus will increment the value of CTR, and in the second time now the CTR value will become 2. So as soon the value becomes 2, it again checks with the condition CTR less than equal to 5. Since that is true, it comes out to be inside the code and it displays that for loop has executed 2 times. And again it goes to the increment counter. Increment counter again increments the value by 1. because CTR plus plus means CTR equals to CTR plus 1. So the value becomes 3. So it again checks up with the condition 3 is less than equal to 5. So it comes into the code. It says echo, the for loop has executed 3 times. And then it again moves back to the CTR plus plus. Here the value will again gets incremented by 1. So the value becomes 4. So 4 is less than equal to 5. Then it again comes into the loop. The for loop has executed 4 times. And then again CTR plus plus will increment the value by 5. Then the condition checking will be there, 5 less than equal to 5. And then displaying the output as the for loop has executed 5 times. And then again the control will move on to the increment counter CTR plus plus, that will again increment the value of 5 to 5 by 1, that becomes 6. So again the condition checking will be there, 6 less than equal to 5. So this time the condition becomes false and the control will not go into the code that is written inside the for loop. So the control will terminate this particular code and will come out of this for loop. So the output we obtained after the execution is the for loop has executed 1 time, 2, 3, 4 and 5 times. That is the output that will be displayed onto your screen. So let's move ahead. We have a code where for loop is applied for a equals to 1, b equals to 10. That is 2 initializations are done, followed by semicolon, and then a less than 5. The condition is there, and then the increment counter part is having 2 increments, a plus plus, comma b plus plus. And what we are doing is we are in the code we are calculating the value of c, that is c equals to a plus b. And we are displaying the values of a, b and c as the output. So the output will be a equal to 1, b equal to 10, c equal to 11 in the first iteration. And then a value gets incremented, b value also gets incremented, and c is a plus b. So increment in a and b by 1 each will increment in c for 2. So that's why a value becomes 2, b value becomes 11 and c value becomes 13. In the same way, this loop will keep on executing unless a value is less than 5. As soon a becomes 5 or more than 5, this loop will terminate. So we are getting 4 outputs, a equal to 1, 2, 3 and 4, b equal to 10, 11, 12, 13, c equal to 11, 13, 15 and 17. So that all will be displayed as the output. The next is for each loop. The for each loop, it works only on arrays and is used to loop through each key value pair in an array. So for each array has $value code to be executed, and for every loop iteration the value of the current array element is assigned to value and the array pointer is moved by 1 until it reaches the last array element. So it iterates each loop for each element in the array. So it works only on arrays. Make sure you remember this. It works on arrays and it is used to loop through each key value pair in the array. So in arrays we are having key values pair where we specify which key is associated with which value. So syntax for each array as key implies value. Then we are having code to be executed. The code of method is mentioned in the for each, and this does the same thing except that the current element's key will be assigned to the variable key on each pass of the loop. So in this we are having the key value pairs, and this is for the associative array where some associations are given where the key value pairs are being assigned. So for example, name equals to array Nitin, Arora. So we are having a name where we are having two elements, Nitin and Arora. So num equals to 1. We are having a number variable 1 for each name as value. So for each is being applied. Where it is applied? It is applied on the array. And what is the name of the array? It is name. So name as $value. So echo value held in position $num is value. So num is 1. It is executed for the very first time in name. So the value in the very first position is Nitin. Echo, the value held in position 1 is Nitin, will be displayed as the output. Then num plus plus, it will increment the value of num from 1 to 2. Now again it goes into the for each and it says num as $value. Since it has the sum value, the next element to be displayed, so it again enters into the loop, and in the loop it says echo value held in position $num is $value. So $num is 2 now and $value will point to Aurora now. So the output we will be attaining is value held in position 2 is Aurora. And then some num plus plus will again increment the value of num from 2 to 3. Again, the for each will check this, but since the name is only having two elements, so the loop will get terminated and we will be getting two entries in the output as well. The output will be value held in position 1 is Nitin, value held in position 2 is Aurora. So that is what is being displayed in the output. Next program, here we are having first name and last name as well. So name is having, it's an array which is having first name implies Nitin, the key value pair, and last name implies Arora. So num equals to 1 for each name as name implies value. So for the first time, name value pair on position $num is 1. So position 1 is slash name and we are representing the name implies value. So the output will be name value pair on position 1 is $name followed by first name implies Nitin. And then num plus plus will increment the value of num from 1 to 2 and then for each $name as $name implies $value, we are equating the statement as the name value pair on position 2 is $name last name implies Aurora. Since the name element is having two elements, so the further iteration of this loop will not execute. So when for each loop first starts executing, the internal array position is automatically reset to the first element of an array. The for each loop operates on a copy of the specified array and not the array itself. Changes to the array element returned are not reflected in the original array. However, the internal position of the original array is advanced when the copy of the array is being processed. That is about for each. Next, we are having infinite loops. So loops can be very handy, but also very dangerous. So please use them carefully. Infinite loops are the loops that fail to exit, causing them to execute until power of the computer is stopped. So infinite loops get executed until you forcefully turn off the computer and you restart it. So until that, this infinite loop will keep on executing. So this occurs no matter what occurs during the loop. the condition will never becomes false and therefore the loop never exits. So what is the mechanism behind the infinite loop? That condition of the loop will never gets false. It is always true. And as the condition becomes true, it keeps on iterating multiple times and that becomes the infinite loop. So relying on user input to terminate a loop is possible. So if you want to still forcefully terminate that particular loop, you can press Ctrl C to forcefully terminate the loop. So for example of infinite loops, while 1, if we pass 1 as the condition in while, so that becomes always true because in computers 1 is true and 0 is false. So 1 is always true. So print in loop. So in loop, it is keep on printing infinite times. Similarly for, if we do not pass any parameters, simply we write for followed by a semicolon. And we print in loop or whatever text we want to print. It keeps on executing infinite times because every time the condition is true. We have not mentioned the condition. So that becomes the infinite loops. The next is special loop keywords. Special loop keywords are the break and continue. It accepts an optional numeric argument which tells it how many nested enclosing structures are to be broken out of, and that is what break signifies. And continue, it accepts an optimal numeric argument which tells it how many levels of enclosing loops it should skip to the end of. So what it means is if you use continue inside a loop, then it keeps on passing the values, skipping that particular loop, that particular code snippet where the continue is being mentioned. And break, it tells us how many nested enclosure structures are to be broken out of it. Means where the code will be reverted back out of the loop. So when used inside loops in order to manipulate the loop behavior, break causes PHP to exit the loop. So if you use break, it exits that particular loop wherever it is used. And continue causes PHP to skip the remaining code block in the current loop iteration and go to the next iteration. So continue, it skips that particular iteration. It do not skips all the iterations. It skips that particular iteration itself. But break, it brings that particular iteration to the control out of the loop. So that particular iteration is being finished up and it stops all the further iterations and the control is getting transferred out of the loop. Whereas in continue, it skips that particular iteration and the code is continued for the next iterations. So that is the difference between continue and break. Very, very important. And this is applied in loops. So let's check it out how it is applied. So for I equals to 0, I is less than 12, I plus plus. If I equals to 5, then loop continued at I. So continue is there. And if I equals to 10, then loop terminate at I, break. So number is, we are displaying the numbers. So in the output, you can check it out. The number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So at 5, when the condition is mapped to be true, so continue is there. So loop continued at 5. And then again it starts iterating 6, 7, 8, 9. And then break is there. So loop terminated at 9, at 10. Break is applied at 10, the condition becomes true. So break, the loop is terminated at 10. Then loops within loops, we are applying the loops within the particular loops and we call this as the nested loops. So if we want to apply the loop within the loop, so for, again we are having again for loop is there, again for loop is there, and we are displaying the result as A holds B and C holds, and then we are writing break 2. Break 2 here means that the control will break out of the inner loop and one above it. So it is break 2 means it is coming outside the two loops together. If you write a simple break, it comes out one loop only. But if you write break 2, it comes out of the two loops that are running over it. So output will be A holds 1, B holds 0, C holds 10. And in the second, the output will be A holds 2, B holds 0, and C holds 10. So this is the loop within the loop, and loop within the loop is known as the nested loops.